Christ. Amen. So I asked the choir to help me sing the song, and Bunny said, I don't know it. So if you know it, sing it with me, okay? And she didn't mean it in a mean way. She said, I don't know it. Dance, dance, wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he. And I'll lead you all, wherever you may be. And I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. Pretty simple. Have you heard it before?
No.
Okay, so I love people singing with me. Pretty simple song, right? And I'd like you to have this with you as you go out into the world. Dance, dance, wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he. And I'll lead you all, wherever you may be. And I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. Simple, catchy little tune. It sounds old. It's not. It's from the 60s. And it talks about dancing. Another song that you might have heard from Leanne Womack, she says in her lead up to the chorus of the song, she said, when you get a chance to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance.
I hope you dance.
I hope you dance. Dancing is much like faith, you see. And you might say, well, Pastor, how do you have that correlation? Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the expectation of things unseen. Yep. How many times have you not walked by faith, just by sight? Same with dancing. When you were a child, much like Cammie, you danced. You thought it was great and it was wonderful. But then someone said to you, that's silly. But some of you kept dancing. Some of you danced the polka and waltz and schottisch and a lot of other dances the younger people are dancing today until you gave it up. Why did you stop dancing? And you might say, well, wait a second, I have an ailment, I'm hurt, and whatever. Then why did you stop tapping your feet? Well, I'm sorry. Why did you stop singing? Why did you stop snapping your fingers, clapping your hands? David, you see, the king of Israel, the United Kingdom, is dancing before the Lord. He's leaping and dancing and celebrating what God has done in his life. He gets home, and what happens? His wife says, you were a fool. A fool for dancing. The world will say the same thing to you as you live out this dance, this life, this celebration of Christ in your life. The world will say, stop it. And I pray that you will say, I choose to dance. I choose to have faith in my life. And I pray that you will have this prayer upon your heart and mind every morning. Lord, increase my faith. Increase my faith. Now, if you read the gospel as I did, the disciples say, increase our faith. If you have been with me in any of my Bible studies, or if I've counseled you at all, I say we're not talking about all the women in the world, or all the men in the world. We're not talking about our stuff. We're talking about an individual's issues. Because if we generalize, we really don't get to the heart of the matter. Our stuff, women's stuff, men's stuff. No. What's within you? Let us begin there. What is within you? People of God here at St. Paul in October 2019. If we make it personal, then it will be personal. If we make it personal, it will be personal. Increase my faith. A young boy was sitting in church, as young children are. I'm sure I was that way as well. Not wanting to sit still. Really having a problem. Making noise. And his father was trying to keep him under control. But the little boy would not be kept under control. And you know all those wonderful people in church who give you the eye? You know, keep that kid under control, look, you know. So the father felt bad, and they weren't able to worship. You know, ultimately, he could do nothing to keep the child under control. So he picked him up and put him over his shoulder and was walking with him with his face looking behind him. So the little boy, when he got to the end of the sanctuary, he's going to go out the door and yell back into the congregation, "Pray for me!" Come on, that's funny. Let us begin there. If we would like our faith to be increased, it begins a relationship with God. Prayer. Now you might think that you need to be in a dark room with your hands folded and your eyes closed to be in prayer. That is not true. You can be driving down the road and someone cuts you off. You say, "Lord, bless me." Someone slams on the brake. Bless me. Or you're flying a plane, someone cuts you off in the pattern. You go, Lord, help me. These are prayers that help us in our faith journey. And yes, it can evoke laughter rather than words that would suggest you don't have faith at all. Increase my faith. Then Jesus starts talking about stuff that seemingly is a problem for everybody. This mustard seed thing. If I had that much faith, I could move the things that block my view, the trees. I could move mountains. Just this much faith. And I love that Jesus said I could move the mulberry tree to the ocean, because when I think of water, I think of baptism, and I think about how God has touched us in each of our lives in baptism. That He has made us a part of His family. So in that, we begin in prayer, and now we begin again in a vision of God choosing us, loving us, and joining with us in the struggle. Increase our faith. Increase our faith. There will be struggles in this world. It's not simple, as all of you know. As all of you know. I was serving in the Azorian Islands. These are islands off the coast of Portugal. Anyway, while I was there, we were doing an exercise. The military does exercises for everything, for disasters and for wartime, and anything you can imagine, we do exercises. So we were out doing this, and the guy in charge is sitting there, and we're doing this exercise, and he's gathered us as an assembly just like this. And he says to one of the lower-ranking people, an enlisted member, an airman, he says, "Airman, can you do this?" He's a colonel, if you know anything about that. He's got, he's an 06. This is an E2. 06E2. We got it? Perfect. Like Trump, me. Okay, so. Anyway. Not go down that. Well, no. I mean, anything. Anyway, so. He says, Airman, could you do this? And the airman, without skipping a beat, says, that's not my job. Now, if you were in the military at all, you know that everyone caught their breath. What did you just say? So the commander, not wanting to lose face, said, let me explain why I want you to do it. Explained it. The importance of the role that this young man was going to do. And then the man was nodding. And he nodded, and then he said, that's not my job. Now all of us thought, well, he won't have a job tomorrow. How often has Christ laid upon your heart to reach out to somebody and you said, it's not my job? How often have you seen someone in need and you said, someone else will do it? Brothers and sisters, it's not your job, it is your calling to love, to inspire, to give hope to the hopeless, vision to the blind, and yes, joy to those who are suffering. Increase my faith. Increase my faith. Jesus goes on to talk about slaves and what they do and what they don't do. And brothers and sisters, he's right on. He says when the slave comes in from the work, he does all the rest of the work. And when he's done with it, he says, this is what I needed to do. I don't need any acclamation or celebration for my efforts. This is what I'm called to do. But too often we run with the idea of what's in it for me. And I would say to you, salvation and the celebration of God in this world, that's what's in it for you. Is that enough? And from some of you say, well, what else? Rather than say, amen. An old man that was in his final days of his life, he was in hospice care, he was sitting on a hospital bed, and there was a young kid sitting next to him, his grandson. It could have been, but not necessarily. He was standing next to him, and he was teaching him how to read. His friend came in and said, hey, rest from your labors. Rest from your labors. And the old man said, no. God has given me this life. And I might not be able to dance, and I might not be able to put up drywall, and I might not be able to sing in the choir, but I can help this child learn to read, to learn about life. If you're thinking your race is at the end, it's not. You're here. Do you think you've done enough? You've not, because you're here. It's time to let the God who sent Jesus to this world to inspire you to greater things at the foot of the cross. You're not doing it for your glory, but for the glory of God in Alpena and in the world. And in the end, you will say, amen, Jesus, I did what you called me to do. And that will be enough. That's what he's calling you to do. So when you get a chance to sit it out or dance, I hope you'll dance. And all God's children said,